It's game on this weekend at Benaroya Hall. KIRO News Radio's Paul Holden explains.
I want to start this off with a song. This is one of the first songs you hear in Super Mario 64 at the file select screen. Take a moment while enjoying this song to realize you only hear for about 5 seconds of gameplay. The music in games, just like about every medium, is a crucial component to the experience. This weekend, some of the best music from historic video game franchises will be performed live at Game On by the Seattle Symphony and composer Andy Brick. I asked him about the significance of a game's soundtrack.
So I think that it's very, very significant, like it is to any media, but I think that there's a distinction between music in games and music, say, in films or other media, in that music to games has a very sort of visceral attachment to the audience because the audience is engaging and physically engaging in the gameplay. And when they hear music at the same time that they're having that engagement, it creates a different kind of bond to the music. And I think that kind of bond makes the audience, the game player, more attached to the music in the games than it might be in other media.
Experienced gamers know when the boss fight is about to come up, the music starts to intensify and swell, mixed with audio cues of your dwindling health. The sounds and music are some of the most immersive parts of the gaming experience. This isn't the first time Brick has brought video game music to the stage. He was a pioneer. I
was actually the first guy to do a symphonic video game music back in 2003, video game music concert. And that was in Leipzig, Germany. And we did really well. It was sort of a phenomenon, and nobody knew about it. And sort of when we walked in, the orchestra was like, what is this? You know, video games and music. And that went really well. And then we brought it to the United States. And I did it in the United States for 6 or 7 years. And then sort of at the end of the run, this was now back in around 2007, towards the end of that, I had some people asking me to create one on my own with a very specific sort of perspective of what a video game concert would look like. And so I did. And I had a friend who I had been associating with for maybe 4 or 5 years at the time, who's really hardcore gamer, like really hardcore. And I talked to him and I said, hey, do you want to work on this with me and help me make a program of what you might think are the games that really deserve attention now? And so he said, sure. So we sat down and we looked, this would have been about 2018, and we looked at sort of the spectrum of games that were out there and the music that was presented in this game, in these games. And we came up with a list of like 18 games that we thought really had something special in their soundtracks. And then we spent 3 years talking to the publishers, making sure that we were doing things in a way that the publishers were comfortable with. And at the same time, making sure that the music that we were selecting and representing was something that the audience would really identify with.
I asked if there was a certain sound or element he was looking for in the soundtracks.
Oh, that's a good question. Well, programming a concert like this is a little tricky because you run the risk of having music which all sort of sounds the same, right? There's this heroic sort of French horn anthem, and there's a lot of great game music that has that. But we wanted to make sure that we represented sort of a diverse variety of music that a symphony orchestra like the Seattle Symphony could play and sort of dig their hands into. So it became important to us that not only were we trying to find the music that would really resonate with the audience the most, but something that the orchestra could really dig into that would be engaging for like the Seattle Symphony. And so we sat down and we found moments in these games that really had special things and diverse things. So, for example, in BioShock, we do Cone's Masterpiece. And it's a really engaging piano solo for even an orchestra pianist. Or from League of Legends, we do Lulu and Shackle's Quirky Adventure. Which has this beautiful, almost like Tchaikovsky-esque violin solo in it. So I think that was one of the factors, was checking out, what would not only allow the audience to really get into it, but what would allow the orchestra to also get into it.
Maybe you've never heard of these games, or maybe you've never even played a game. Rick says you'll leave with a new appreciation for not only games, but the music behind them.
So I think what's interesting about this show is that, we have these projection screens that are behind the orchestra. And a lot of people, I think that, well, if you're going to go to see a symphony orchestra like the Seattle Symphony play video game music, that you have to be a gamer. But the way that we present Game On is, if you can imagine that you're in an art gallery and that there's a curator sort of taking you through the art gallery and explaining what the pieces of art on the wall are. If you could think about going to a concert hall with videos and having a symphony orchestra explain to you the meaning of those videos, that's how we structured Game On. So even somebody who's not familiar with the game can relate to the underlying story that they see in the videos, because the music that the orchestra is playing is going to tell you about that.
The Seattle Symphony has embraced pop culture. It has highlighted the music of anime, performed live alongside massive movies, and now video games. Bringing shows like Game On to the stage matters because it helps keep music alive.
It's so important on so many levels. Not only does it create a huge cultural influence in the given society, but it also sets the stage for a new audience for the symphony orchestra. It creates an awareness of music outside of a genre that might be automatically fed to that audience. So I think that it's really important, not only for the perpetuation of the symphony orchestra, but for the perpetuation of new music in general.
After sifting through all this music, I had to know if Brick had a favorite among the rest.
I can't answer that question.
Oh.
Yeah, that I represent a whole bunch of different publishers. If the music is in the concert, it's because I love it, because I think it's great. I think that the audience will enjoy it, and because the audience has expressed an interest for it, and that it can be played well by the orchestra. But for me to say one is my favorite, just not only would it not be fair, but I don't know that I could even do that. I mean, every piece has something special in it that I really gravitate towards.
So if you or someone in the family is into games, or maybe wants to learn a little bit more about video games and needs something to do this weekend,
we're going to be at Benaroya Hall. We're going to do a concert program of, I think it's 13 or 14 different video game titles, all titles that everybody's heard of. So we're doing Assassin's Creed, we're doing The Witcher, we're doing World of Warcraft, we're going to do Ori, which is going to be super cool. The list goes on and on. We're going to do League of Legends and BioShock, et cetera, et cetera. It's on Friday and Saturday night, this Friday and Saturday night. Concert starts at 8 o'clock at Benaroya Hall. Get your tickets soon, because the hall looks like it's really, really full. So I believe there's still tickets left. And I think it's going to be amazing with the Seattle Symphony. I'm so psyched to play with them.
Paul Holden, KIRO News Radio.